I wasted my entire life, and the worst part, I didn't even notice. My name is Walter. I'm 96 years old. I spent 41 years as an accountant in Dayton, Ohio. Same desk, same coffee mug, same drive home every single night for 4 decades. And if you'd asked me at 60, at 70, even at 80, I would have told you I had a good life, stable, comfortable, nothing wrong with it. But I was lying, not to you, to myself. Because 5 years ago, when I was 91, I found something in a drawer that broke me in half. And I haven't been the same since. So, sit down, because I need to tell you what I found and what it taught me about every single day I threw away. I grew up in a small house on Wilmington Avenue. My father was a machinist at the GM plant in Moraine. My mother worked part-time at a dry cleaner's. Good people, quiet people, the kind of people who paid every bill on time and never once raised their voice at a dinner table. And that's what I learned from them, that life was about not making mistakes, not about doing something great, just not falling behind, not getting in trouble, not being the guy who loses his house or his wife or his reputation. So I did exactly what they would have wanted. I graduated from Wright State in 1952, got my CPA license, took a job at a mid-sized firm called Reinhardt and Lowell on 3rd Street downtown, married Ruth in 1958. She was a nurse at Miami Valley Hospital, brown eyes, quiet laugh. She loved crossword puzzles and yellow roses. We bought a 2-bedroom apartment on Wayne Avenue, had a boy, David, in 1961, had a girl, Karen, in 1964. I drove a beige Oldsmobile. I mowed the lawn on Saturdays. I watched the Reds on Sunday afternoons, and none of it was bad. That's what I need you to understand. None of it was bad. There was no drinking, no affairs, no screaming, no bankruptcy, no crisis, just nothing. I went to work, I came home, I ate dinner, I watched television, I went to bed, and then I did it again, and again, and again, for 41 years. Ruth would sometimes look at me across the kitchen table and say, "Walter, don't you ever want to do something different?" And I'd say, "Different? Like what?" And she'd shrug, and we'd go back to eating. She asked me that maybe 100 times over the years, and every single time I gave her the same answer. Indifferent like what? Like it was a ridiculous question. Like wanting something more than what we had was ungrateful. I retired in 1993. I was 64. They gave me a plaque, brass, said Walter Brennan, 41 years of dedicated service. I hung it above the toilet in the hallway bathroom. That's where I thought it belonged. Not because I was humble, because deep down I knew. 41 years of dedicated service. To what? To balancing other people's books, to making sure other people's numbers added up while mine never did. But I didn't say that out loud, not once. The years after retirement were worse, because at least work gave me a schedule. Without it, I was just a man in a chair. David moved to Portland. Karen married a man from Virginia, and I saw her twice a year at best. Ruth and I were alone in that apartment. We're two people who loved each other but had somehow run out of things to say. She started volunteering at the library. She joined a book club. She took a watercolor class at the community center. She was 72, and she was trying new things. I sat in my chair and watched her leave every Tuesday and Thursday, and I felt nothing. Not jealous, not curious, not sad. Nothing. Like someone had pulled the plug on whatever part of me was supposed to want things. Ruth got sick in 2018, pancreatic, fast. 8 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. And here's what I remember most about those 8 weeks. She didn't cry about dying. She cried about me. 3 days before she passed, she held my hand in that hospital room at Kettering Medical Center, and she said, "Walter, promise me you'll do something, anything. Just one thing that scares you. I said I would. She closed her eyes. And I went home to an empty apartment, and I sat in my chair, and I did nothing. For 3 years after Ruth died, I did absolutely nothing. I ate, I slept. I watched the ceiling fan spin. I talked to David on the phone every Sunday for 11 minutes. I waved at the neighbors. I existed. And then one night, in December 2021, I couldn't sleep. It was 2 in the morning. Cold. The kind of cold Dayton gets where the windows fog up from the inside. I got up and walked to the old desk in the spare room, the desk Ruth used for her crosswords. I opened the bottom drawer looking for a blanket, and that's when I found it. A small brown notebook, leather cover, soft, worn at the edges. I opened it, and on the first page, in Ruth's handwriting, it said, "For Walter, on your 40th birthday, fill this with everything you want to do before you leave this world. Love, Ruth, April 1969. I turned the page, and there, in my own handwriting, 3 things. Number 1, see the ocean. I'd never seen the ocean. 91 years old, and I'd never once stood in front of the Atlantic or the Pacific, or any body of water bigger than Eastwood Lake. Number 2, learn to play piano. My mother had a piano growing up, an old upright Baldwin she kept in the living room. I used to press the keys when no one was watching. I loved the sound. Never took a single lesson. Number 3, tell David I'm proud of him. Just that. Written in 1969, when David was 8 years old. In 3 things, and then 47 blank pages. I sat at that desk for a long time. I don't know how long, an hour, maybe 2, just staring at those blank pages, and it hit me. Not slowly, not gently. It hit me like someone kicked open a door inside my chest. I hadn't stopped dreaming because I was old. I'd stopped dreaming when I was 40. I was already dead at 40. I just kept breathing for another 51 years out of habit. That notebook wasn't empty because I ran out of time. It was empty because I ran out of courage. Somewhere between paying the mortgage and driving the Oldsmobile and eating dinner in silence, I decided that wanting things was dangerous, that the safest life was the smallest life. And I shrank and shrank and shrank until there was almost nothing left of me. And the worst part, Ruth knew. She always knew. That's why she gave me the notebook. That's why she asked me every year across that kitchen table, "Don't you ever want to do something different?" She wasn't nagging. She was begging me to wake up. And I never did. Not while she was alive. I closed the notebook. I put it on the kitchen table, and I cried for the first time in maybe 30 years. Not because Ruth was gone. I'd already grieved that. I cried because I finally understood what she meant in that hospital room. Do something that scares you. She wasn't talking about skydiving or bungee jumping. She was talking about wanting, about letting yourself want something again, because I had turned wanting into a sin. I had made comfort my entire religion, and it cost me everything that mattered. So at 93 years old, I did something I should have done at 40. When I called David in Portland, and I didn't talk about the weather. I didn't ask about his job. I said, "David, I need to tell you something. I'm proud of you. I've been proud of you since you were 8 years old. And I'm sorry it took me this long to say it." He didn't say anything for about 10 seconds. Then he cried. A grown man, 62 years old, crying on the phone because his father finally said 4 words. The next spring, David drove me to Charleston, South Carolina. And I stood on that beach with my shoes off and the water touching my feet for the first time in 93 years. It was cold and gray, and the waves were small, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Not because of the ocean, because I was finally there, awake, doing one thing from that notebook after 53 years of blank pages. I never learned the piano. My hands don't work like they used to, but 2 out of 3, at 93, I'll take it. Ruth would have taken it too. So I'm asking you something, and I need you to hear me. Go home tonight, open a drawer, find a piece of paper, any paper, and write down one thing you want to do before you leave this world. Just one. Not tomorrow, not next year, tonight. Because here's what nobody tells you about wasting your life. It doesn't feel like wasting. It feels like Tuesday. It feels like doing the dishes. It feels like I'll get to it later. And then one night, you're 91 years old, holding a notebook full of empty pages, and you realize later already came and went. You're not too old. You're not too broke. You're not too busy. You're just scared. And that's fine. Do it scared. Ruth would have told you the same thing. Before you go, fill the pages.